Good morning, everybody. My name's Gene Coulter, as presiding member for the Metro Outer Development Assessment Panel this morning. Item 1 on the agenda is the opening of the meeting. I'll declare the meeting open at 9:34 a.m. In doing so, I acknowledge we're hosting this meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respects to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. This meeting will be run in accordance with DAP Standing Orders 2024 under the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's regulations of 2011. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's Regulation 2011. Members are reminded to announce their name and title prior to speaking. Panel members may also refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. I'll introduce the members for the panel. Myself, Gene Coulter, as presiding member. To my left, Mr. Clayton Hyam, deputy presiding member. To his left, Heidi Hergett, specialist member. And Councillors Charlie Zanino and Rod Henderson from the City of Swan. And for Part C later, we'll have Councillor Bronwyn Smith and Councillor Jackie Huntley from the City of Wanneroo. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies. Councillor Jennifer Catalano from the City of Swan. Item 3, members on leave of absence, there are none. Item 4, I'll note meetings of previous meetings, they're all available on the DAP website. Part B of the agenda, City of Swan. I will ask all panel members to confirm that they have duly considered all the documentation considered within Part B of the agenda and Part B related information. And note there was a 13 direction response received on the 23rd of June. Members, please indicate by raising their hands that they've duly considered all the information. Thank you, that's unanimous. Item 2, disclosures of interest. I've had none received to this point. Do any panel members have a declaration of interest at this point in time on this item? No. Okay, councillors, was this item considered at a council meeting? No. No. Okay, thank you. All right, well, item 3 on Part B is the Form 1 development application for proposed childcare premises, lot 9148 Civic Terrace, Ellenbrook. We do have presentations from Mr. Tim Trefry and Oliver Ford. We do have a 3-minute time frame. Do we have 2 presenters or just the one? Just the one, okay, 3 minutes. Proceed, Mr. Trefry or Mr. Ford.
Thank you, members, for your time. I'll just do a quick overview. We've worked with the design review panel in refining the design for this building. We think we've got a very good result in terms of how the building will look. Present to the streetscape, we make a positive contribution to the Ellenbrook Town Centre. Location-wise, it's directly adjacent to the Ellenbrook Secondary College, within a short walk of the new train station at Ellenbrook. Given its location, it has a rear laneway which does facilitate good and safe access for drop-off, pick-up and parents in terms of the age of the children going to the daycare. It also results in a nice north-facing place this time of year. And the nearest resident is over 150 metres away at Stackheads, which is medium density apartments as well. So I think the built form and locational criteria we've spent a bit of time on. It's a good location and a good building. The only point I'd like to raise regarding the officer's report is that it does refer to, I think, 92 children, when in fact the proposal was for 96 children. So just in terms of condition, I think it's condition. Condition 4 should read the maximum number of children are 96, not 92, is the only change we're looking for in terms of the conditions. Other than that, we're the officer's report. And Oliver and myself are just here to respond to any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Trefai. Panel members, are there any questions? No. Councillor Henderson.
Yes, I just want to ask the applicant, are they satisfied that condition 6 is workable for their needs?
Yes, through you, the Chair. That got raised in the design review meetings, and it was advised that we would be happy to look at a statement of sustainability. The architects confirmed that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Heidi?
Through the chair, has the relevant traffic impact statement and parking assessment taken into account 96, or is that just a typo?
The typo, I think, at the officer's report, all the reports and submissions for the application referred to 96.
And so the car parking requirements have been based on 96?
Our calculations are 96, that's correct.
Further questions? No. Thank you. We may get back to you later. For goodness sake. Okay. Any questions of the staff? Heidi?
In relation to, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. In relation to condition 9, which relates to the requirement for the payment of cash in lieu for the 2 bays that are deemed to be short as part of the, obviously the staff officer's assessment. I've got a couple of questions. I've got a couple of questions. First of all, that's been based on, now I've dug up some information in relation to what the council's released. One of them is the Ellenbrook Town Centre parking strategy dated 2022. Is that been superseded by the Ellenbrook Town Centre payment in lieu of parking?
Not superseded, they're just meant to be read in conjunction with one another. So the Ellenbrook Town Centre parking strategy sets out the parking requirements in terms of the calculations for each respective land use, and then the cash in lieu. So that the Ellenbrook Town parking strategy references when there is a parking shortfall, a cash in lieu requirement, a cash in lieu payment is required. And so then the cash in lieu strategy sets out the respective fee that's required per bay shortfall.
Okay, so further to that, there are a number of overarching parking strategies that are intended to apply. Now, this particular site, my understanding is it's in the core. One of them being to maximize shared and public parking in the area and to prioritize short-term car parking. Now, this site's obviously got 4-sided frontage, 3 of which have indented public parking bays. And it indicates it should maximize the proportion of public and shared parking and increase resource efficiency. Is inferred in there meant that the public parking that's available in the public realm, namely on street, is to be used as efficiently as possible. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's a 2 or 3P zone there because it's close to the train station, intended to cater to short-term use or high turnover parking. And I think one of the other tenets in this particular strategy indicates the acceptance of cash in lieu where appropriate, i.e. mixed use, where it's not practical to provide parking on the site. So I guess I go back to my original question. Does one trump the other? One is a plan, the other one's a policy. One says one thing, one says another. There seems to be some confusion in terms of the rates that are applied. My understanding in the RAR, it indicates that there's a shortfall of 2. Should be 18.
Apologies, we just lost connection there for momentarily. Could you please repeat what you just said?
Okay. Just back to the Ellenbrook Town Centre parking strategy and then the cash and lieu plan. I think the first question that I asked related to, does one trump the other? Does one supersede the other, or that it be used in parallel? because the parking strategy for the town center clearly promotes the efficient use of public infrastructure where available and appropriate. And the cash in lieu indicates, and it really relates more to sort of the minutiae of the cash in lieu and how it relates back to legislation, et cetera. There's a shortfall of parking, on-site parking in theory of 2, but there's probably about 15 bays in and around the site that are intended to cater to nearby legitimate activities such as car parking, pick up and drop off. I guess I would just like to know what the rationale is in terms of requiring cash in lieu payment for 2 bays when clearly the public parking in and around this site is available. And not all of it's available clearly, but it's only 2 that would be necessary to cater to turnover associated with pickup drop-off activities, and why the city's requesting that. And then following on from that, are there any concrete plans to provide additional car parking infrastructure in and around that particular area to which the cash in lieu contribution is going to be allocated?
So the rationale for the cash in lieu payment is that while at this current point in time there appears to be sufficient on-street parking bays to cater for the shortfall of this development, it can be reasonably assumed that that area is still yet to develop. There's still a lot of future development is going to occur. So it can be reasonably assumed that some of those developments are going to also propose parking shortfalls, which will also be seeking to utilise the on-street parking bays. So that cash in lieu goes into a kitty, you could say, and then essentially that will then be used to provide additional parking bays or parking infrastructure within the road reserve. So whether or not it's immediately adjacent that site or in other places within the town centre, but that's the intent of the cash in lieu payment. So while there may be sufficient parking bays, on-street parking bays at this point in time to cater for the shortfall, cumulatively future development is going to, if in the event there is shortfalls there, that's going to increase the demand on street parking. So that's the rationale behind the cash in lieu payment, is to eventually ultimately provide additional street parking bay infrastructure.
So the plan is to allocate this to public parking in the immediate area, or I guess relative to the Ellenbrook Town Center core area.
Council staff?
Oh, so yeah, correct.
Okay, so are there any short-term plans to provide additional on-street parking in the particular area?
Not at this point in time. The cash and lieu strategy was only adopted, I think it was in October of 2024. So it's a relatively new, a new policy. So this would be one of the first applications that we're recommending cash and lieu payment.
So are you confirming that the policy that was adopted in 2024 trumps or supersedes that which is outlined in the Ellenbrook Town Centre parking strategy, which is...
So it doesn't supersede the Ellenbrook Town Centre parking strategy. It's to be read in conjunction with that. So previously there was no parking or cash and lieu strategy, which, as I said, was recently adopted in October of last year. So up until this point, the city haven't been requesting cash and lieu payments because there has been no cash and lieu strategy up until this point in time. But it's always been the intent to collect cash and lieu payments for parking shortfalls within the town centre as referenced in the parking strategy from 2022.
Okay, so just one more question. So you're confirming that one doesn't trump the other. It just would appear to my reading that it's very clear in the town centre strategy, which from what I understand, how based on your response to my original question, that is still very much current. And there's a number of different strategies in there that clearly state, maximize the best use of public parking infrastructure where appropriate, et cetera. And then this has been followed on, obviously, in 2024, 2 years after the adoption of this updated parking strategy by this cash in lieu. Is the purpose of public parking in the public realm, namely on-street parking, not for the purposes of use by the public that have legitimate activities and interests in an area, such as this childcare centre, local shops?
The city's position is parking within the verge is there for members of the public, so there's no specific allocation yet. It's just intended to be used by members of the public. It's available publicly.
So that could include parents that are picking up and dropping off to facilities such as this, as well as other activities in the area, post office, banks, et cetera. I can appreciate that. Visitor parking, perhaps at nighttime. So you would agree that that would include parents picking up and dropping off on street?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Any further questions of the staff? If not, we will move on to the item itself. And in order that we may discuss or debate the item, I'll need a mover and seconder for the recommendation as published. Do I have a mover? Councillor Zanino. Seconder? Councillor Henderson. Councillor Zanino, speak to the item.
Just want to clarify that I move the item subject to the clarification of the number from 92 to 96 as has been stated.
Okay, we might just get that clarified by the council staff at this stage. David? Get back to you.
Sorry, that was a mistake on the city's behalf, so we have no objections to changing that condition reference 96.
Could that be considered to be a typo?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, we could deal with that administratively, so that condition 4, the number is 96 on that. And any other part of the recommendations? If the number is 92, we'll leave it at 96. Thank you. Councillor Zanino, that's clarified.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very happy to move the approval of this item. I think that reading through it, it ticks all the boxes and it's going to be a great asset for that location. I think that, like I said, it fits the, there's not going to be any problems with parking, I don't think. Traffic is catered for. There's enough roads and laneways to cater for that. It's in close proximity to the school and also the train station. And I think the design guidelines are appropriate, be met. No, I don't have anything further. I think, as I said, it's a great development and ticks all the boxes. Happy to move.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson, a seconder, you should speak.
Briefly, thank you, Chairman. The application is a good one. Clearly, there's a need. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing this. The one aspect about the cash in lieu that has concerned me for some time actually is that the reality is that $7,500 to make one bay is probably very light on these days. It's been that amount for a long time. So perhaps this developer is getting off lightly in that regard. So perhaps it's also something for the city and the council to look at. But otherwise, a good application, happy to support.
Thank you. Any other panel member wish to speak to the item? Yes, Mr. Holmes.
It's a discretionary use located in the town centre. It's been well designed and supported by the DRP, subject to a couple of conditions, but generally it's consistent with the planning framework and think it's a very good development, can be supported.
Thank you. Heidi, you wish to speak to?
Yeah, I'd like to move the removal of a condition, or do we do that afterwards?
Sorry, which condition?
9.
Cash in lieu payment.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a seconder? No? Your move is amendment lapses for want of a seconder. Okay, thank you.
Speak to it. I think this is a fantastic location for a childcare centre. It's close to the commissioned and open railway station. It's in the town centre. It's probably going to, likely to cater to, an extended need for this type of service in the area. I think it's fantastic. I do have concerns about the condition 9. However, I do believe that parking on the site as proposed and whatever is provided on the street, I think in the excess of 10 days would be more than adequate to cater to the parking needs in terms of staff and pick-up, drop-off activities. The existing infrastructure in the area, walking and cycling, is of a very good quality. So, and in terms of the traffic, I think that that's sustainable. It's a permeable master planned road network in that particular area, and for that reason, I support the application.
Okay, well, finally, I support the application. I think it's a well-located childcare centre which will suit the needs of the local workforce and also local residents. It's been supported from a design and planning framework point of view. And in regards to the parking shortfall, yes, I think $7,500 is a bit light on, but it goes into a pool and down the track if required. Money in that pool can be used to build multi-storey car parks, etc. So I think it covers a lot of the positives for a childcare centre. So with that, I'll pass back to Councillor Zanino to close debate.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I have nothing further to add. I think just press through vote.
Okay, all right. Well, that being the case, I'll put the recommendation, responsible authority recommendation to the vote. All in favour?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, presenters. Next item on the agenda is Form 2 DAP application. There are none. Item 5, Section 31 SAT recommendation. There are none. I'd like to thank Councillors Henderson and Nino for their attendance and Council staff for their input as well, and the presenters who have just left. Thank you, and we'll now move on to Part C of the agenda.
Thank you, Chairman.
See you later, Rod. Yes, so we'll welcome Councillor Smith and Councillor Huntley to the meeting. And first item on the agenda is confirmation from all panel members that we have duly considered all the documentation contained within Part C of the agenda and Part C related information. Also, the R13 direction response received 24th of June and some associated documentation which was circulated this morning. So I ask that all panel members are familiar with that information. Raising your hands. Thank you. That's unanimous. Okay, item 2, disclosures of interest. I have none at this stage. I'll ask anyone if they've got any at this point in time from the panel. No? Thank you. And councillors, was this item considered at a council meeting? No? Thank you. All right, well, we'll move into the item 3, which is the application for the service station at 986 Wanneroo Road, Wanneroo. And we do have a presentation from Mr Dion White from Hatch. And I'll remind Mr White that he has 3 minutes. And please proceed.
Thank you, panel members. I'll certainly be pretty brief. I really just want to express our support for the recommendation, subject to some further discussion around Condition 2, I'm joined by Mr. Cagle, with his capital, Gregson, the architect for the project, so they're on standby. I think the application is reasonably straightforward. Application for a service station, it certainly fits within the town centre structure plan and the highway commercial setting that's been set up there, the zoning and the local planning policy relating to that. The key issue is around the subdivision and access to the property. From our point of view, it was quite clearly subdivided and approved with the intentional purpose of controlling access and coordinating access across the shared driveway to the road, and those rights were protected and unfettered by the easement that was put in place, which I believe has been submitted to you as part of the additional information request. There has been some post-lodge refinement to access arrangements and some of the internal layouts, and there's a further adjustment that main roads are after, which we're comfortable with. So I guess really in short, we would support the recommendation for approval, but we would like condition 2 removed. Apologies for the late notice, but we have provided the legal advice that we've had to support that position, and I guess the short version of that advice is there's a number of ways to interpret the rights of the existing owners to unfettered access to Wanneroo Road, whether that be through the subdivision application that's already been approved or the rights are embedded in the easement. So we don't believe we should be in the hands of that third party to the intentional purpose of the subdivision access easement arrangements.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any questions of the presenter? Yes, Heidi?
One of the conditions relates to the maximum design vehicle that will enter and exit the site. Namely that it's restricted to 12.5 meters semi-rigid, medium rigid, I guess. And that includes waste collection vehicles, which is fine, and fuel delivery vehicles. I struggle with the concept of a 12.5 meter maximum size fuel delivery vehicle. I guess from an operational perspective, how is that going to be addressed? In my experience, the smallest one is typically 14. They range between 14 and 19 meters. Is this a different kind of an operator? Are they going to source an alternative contractor to deliver, say, 10,000 liters of vehicle, which is typical for like a smaller size truck? Because the footprint of the site is fairly limited, and I have looked at in detail the swept path analysis provided by the traffic consultant. I'm just and it's very tight. It is accommodatable. I can appreciate that drivers are much better than what's conservatively shown on a swept path analysis. I do have a concern that is the applicant confident that they can source a contractor that's, that can provide and deliver fuel to the site using the maximum 12.5 meter size design vehicle?
I believe that's been worked through the traffic impact assessment and with the tenant. Is there
Yes, my name's Roger Gregson. The operators are in fact handling their own logistics. So they are in control of not only the retail operation on the site, but also the delivery of fuel to not only this station, but also the other service stations they have in the metropolitan area. So they are able to control the time of delivery and the size of delivery and volume as they wish. So they have total control of this function, whereas they don't have to rely upon third parties to deliver fuel in varying size trucks.
So are you saying that they have their own trucks that they're actually collecting fuel from wherever they're sourcing
They
it?
do.
And that it's been confirmed that they're going to run a maximum size 12.5 meter fuel vehicle?
That would be a condition, so they will acknowledge that.
It's just that I've not seen one, and that's not to say there isn't one. I just have a concern that, I have significant concerns about a condition that maximizes the access by a maximum MRV or an SR vehicle to 12.5 meters, which generally would be okay for delivery vehicles, waste collection vehicles, etc. Because it is so tight, a 14 meter would, and I'm not even suggesting a 14 meter couldn't navigate into and out of the site. I'm fairly confident that it can. The problem is the software that is availed to professionals in the field can only rely on what they've got. They've got a wheel path and then they've got a buffer on either side.
that answers my question, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions of the presenters? If not, then we will move over to questions of local government officers. Councillors, do you have any questions of the council staff? Councillor Smith, yes.
Thank you, Chair. Could we get a confirmation from admin whether they support the request for condition 2 to be removed?
Thank you for that question. And no, we don't support that condition being removed. From the city's perspective is that the condition allows, in our opinion, the development to be approved. Without the condition, then the development doesn't have physical access, or at least a pathway to achieving physical access to the site, which is why we've provided an alternate recommendation for refusal.
Does that answer your question, councillor?
If I can clarify, so based on the new information supplied this morning, that doesn't satisfy?
No, so the information supplied this morning details that there is a pre-existing approval to construct access through the subdivision approval, and the city doesn't agree with that advice. The city's position is that the subdivision approval that was granted is effectively cleared. The lot is owned by a third party, and the conditions relating to the subdivision approval didn't require physical access to be constructed. It required that there was legal access put in place, which there is. And it required that the lot is created for its intended future development. And that means that it is flat, that it is drained, or at least suitably drained. It is connected to services, but there was no requirement for physical access to be constructed. The second part of the advice, which states that there was an alternative section of advice saying that the works is not considered development or doesn't require development approval. It does. In the city's opinion, the works that would need to be undertaken on the access lot is development and works under the planning and development regulations, and therefore requires development approval. They don't have that. The application doesn't include signatories of that land, and therefore that is not included in this development application. So the condition is effectively set up so that the landowner can liaise with the landowner of the access lot to arrange that works to occur. And once that arrangement's been met, then they can supply that information to the city for our review. And if that is suitably met, and we believe that they will be able to achieve physical access over that lot, then we can continue to a building permit. But without that condition, then we don't think that there is physical access to the lot, and therefore the application should be refused.
Okay, Councillor, do you have any further questions? Yes, go ahead.
So in the current format, the reports, the city with it included, they do support those. So the alternatives only if condition 2 is eliminated. Can I just clarify that?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Further questions, please?
Go ahead.
I was surprised at the few numbers of comments compared to the number of objections. Can you just confirm that all comments were included?
It was a summary of comments.
So we had quite a number of submissions. A lot of them were the same. So in that instance, we do a summary rather than repeating each, comment, as they were very similar. So we do a summary and we make sure we capture all the comments in the summary.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. One of the comments mentioned that the service station cannot be used for 10 years after being decommissioned, and the admin comment was that that was noted. I did a little bit of research to see if that was true or not, and I didn't find anything that validated that statement. Can you confirm whether that's true or not?
So I believe what that comment is referring to is that the Contaminated Sites Act has provision in it to restrict use after a service station has completed its use there, but it's largely got to do with whether the site was decommissioned properly, if it was basically remediated to a standard that can facilitate development afterwards. Sometimes there is a notification on the title of X petrol stations, which basically notifies future landowners that it is potentially contaminated, but it doesn't mean that it can't be used completely. It really does depend on the landowner and operator following through with the requirements of DWER.
Yes, go ahead, councillor.
Thank you. Just a bit of a broader questions. In terms of planning considerations, obviously at the moment, we can't take into consideration proximity and perhaps oversupply of like businesses. Is it administration's opinion that that should be something that the city would like us to be able to consider?
That's a relatively complex question. It sort of delves into the realm of the city being controlling market conditions. I wouldn't support us looking into controlling the proliferation of the same sorts of businesses. That sort of opens the door to us, I guess, for any business requesting that we start controlling the proximity of other like businesses close by. So I would generally not be supportive of taking that approach.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thanks, councillor Smith. Mr. Home.
Thank you. Condition 2 requires the approval of a third party.
Mm-hmm.
In my view, that's an invalid condition. What are your comments there?
That's a fair view to take, which is why we've included an alternate recommendation. The city did contemplate this quite heavily, and we had some internal discussion about it. I think that there was enough in place for there to be a condition based on the easement being put over the lot, allowing access. The city was comfortable that an arrangement could be made between the landowner and the third party for the construction, or at least the laying of the concrete required to allow the access. So we were confident that the condition could be satisfied, but totally take your point that it could be considered an ultra vires condition based on there being a third party approval. But without it, we don't recommend support.
But in the RAR, you say that development on the subject site can be considered and approved given the site has legal access by way of an access easement.
Yes. So again, we do think that the subject development can be considered and approved, but we've also recommended a condition for the physical access to be constructed as well, or at least arrangements being made to allow it.
But it could be approved without condition 2 using.
No, we don't believe that.
Sorry?
I guess that particular section of the report could be read, or it could have said and should have said that the development application can be considered and approved subject to condition 2 being enacted, and for the fact that there is legal access already existing of the access law.
I'm a bit confused because if there is an easement there, then surely that can be used as legitimate access to the site.
Legal access, yes, but not physical access.
But, sorry, the access exists.
Yeah.
The pavement exists, doesn't it?
Yeah, sorry, maybe I should clarify. The section that, the reason I say I'm separating legal and physical from each other is because the trucks and cars that need to enter the property have to traverse over effectively sand to get onto the lot, and the city isn't supportive of that.
But that's outside the development area, outside the lot that we are considering.
That's correct. But it's the only access that is available to the lot that we're considering, because the lot is effectively landlocked.
Yeah. But how they deal with that is another matter outside this approval.
Yes. Perhaps, again, you could take that view. It's not the city's view that is the case. The city's view is that there should be physical access also, and that includes a access which is constructed to the Australian standards for off-street access.
The aerial photo shows access. on the site.
Not complete access, though. There is a portion of the access lot that requires effectively concrete to be laid to allow physical access.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Yes,
Just
sir.
further on that, the plan shows a left out only onto Wanneroo Road directly from the lot, but inbound movements have to actually be accommodated via the lot to the north, which is the subject of this discussion. Can you confirm that?
Sorry, could you please repeat that? It cut out a little bit there.
Access to and from the lot, access to the lot in terms of to the proposal is afforded via the lot to the north, so an easement, I suppose, which is the subject of this discussion. But access, egress directly to the boundary road network is via the lot. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's a left out movement only.
Yes, that would be correct.
So it has the proposal is to have public exit or egress from the lot, but no public access or ingress to the lot.
No, so are you referring to lot 703, the access lot?
Talking about the subject lot has an exit only onto Wanneroo Road. It doesn't have a direct entry from Wanneroo Road. That has to be afforded via to the adjacent lot to the north.
Yeah, correct. So it has to go from the north, come in, and then the access egress would be left out through the access lot. Correct.
Okay, so all exiting movements, my understanding based on the information that's been provided, will be directly to Wanneroo Road from the subject property, but all inbound movements have to be accommodated via an easement.
No. So they still have to traverse
still
over
have
lot 703.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Councillor Smith, you've got a follow-up question?
I've got a question back to, I guess, the proponent, if that's okay, to understand about this whole condition 2.
Go ahead.
So I understand why they're saying they don't need it based on the advice that they have, because they essentially feel like they've already got the agreement in place. I'm just wondering how difficult it would be to get an agreement that the city's kind of wanting them to get in that sense. Is it very onerous or not in terms of what's currently as condition 2 for them?
I could probably say a couple of things on that just in terms
Yes.
of the wider context. I mean, to us, clearly it's an anomaly that there's been a legal right of access provided through a subdivision to provide access to that lot, Wanneroo Road, and control that with the access leg. There is a physical gap in terms of our boundary to the existing concrete concourse that sits within the access leg that we will need to construct. I guess that's
So just how much of that do you have to construct?
it's about 3 or 4 metres, I think.
Yeah.
It's just the little triangle that's in there.
I
It'll
guess,
be a crossover, basically.
yeah, it's bounded by the fact that the controller of the access leg also owns a service station 2 doors down and has been an objector.
It's understandable. I can see that, but that's not an issue we're looking at.
I think it's just helpful context to understand why we're concerned about condition 2.
Okay, well, that's something you'll have to sort out with them, but, okay, does that answer your question, Councillor Smith, or do you want some more information?
I felt like that addressed like some of the physical things in terms of what they'd have to do, but is that part of the actual agreement that's coming with them, or because is it an agreement just in paper that would be? I'm just trying to understand that part of it, other than the works that would happen normally.
Our legal advice is an agreement's not required. And in a number of interpretations, it's an embedded right within the
At this stage, yes, the applicants have got a legal agreement. We've seen that. It's been provided to the council some time ago. We got a copy of it just to clarify the applicant's point of view as to whether they need the adjoining owner's consent to undertake some works. Clearly, they've got a right of access at this stage. No one's disputing that. It's just whether they've got the right to construct a little bit of concrete to finish off that access. Is that kind of my interpretation of the information they've given us? Do you wish to get any more information, councillor?
I'll leave it there, thanks.
Okay, councillor Huntley, you did have a query. Sorry, I didn't see your hand in the first instance.
Yeah, I've just I just pressed my space bar there to release the audio, and it's actually moved all my paperwork. So
You're on mute now, by the way.
there you go. So I'm unmuted now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question is this the only way that the service station can actually have an access out, is to actually use that egress? There is no way it can actually have its own exit point on that land. I mean, if someone who's going to buy the land it's very offset to the one side of the property, is there no other way it can have its own access?
I can answer this. So when we purchased the land, we were informed, and it's in the contract as well, that we can have access to our land, and they will sign any approvals that's required in order for us to develop a site. The lot 703 runs in front of our lot 402 site. There is no way that we can access Wanneroo Road. So essentially, if this is approved or not approved as a result of this condition, the previous owner, who also owns this site 703, has the ability to prevent any development on our site if it doesn't suit what they want it to.
Okay, I think also just the staff and councillor, there is a subdivision approval which restricts the access to those points that are shown on the plan, and the entry and exit arrangement for all three lots are set by the subdivision approval as well. So all parties have to accept that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any further questions of the council staff initially? Okay, thank you. Well, we've had all our queries answered, I presume. So we'll now move on to the item itself, which is the responsible authority recommendation. In order to do that, can I have a mover for the application, please? Mr. Hymes moving. Seconder. I'll second the application for the recommendation. Mr. Hymes, would you like to speak to the item, please?
Thank you. Look, I support it, and I'll get to condition 2 in a little while. But I support the proposal. It's a discretionary use. I note the submissions received, and there were a lot of submissions received, and the concerns raised by the objectors. And just going through some of those, there was a concern over increased traffic. Well, the TIA that was prepared showed that the road network was capable of handling this. There was some complaint or discussion about alternative uses preferred. Well, that's not really a planning consideration for us today. There was concern over the emissions from fuel, and this is one that comes up quite often with service stations close to sensitive uses. However, the EPA recommended separation distance, and although this may not comply entirely, the operators still have to have a licence, and the EPA will follow those licences. And also the methods of managing vapours is much more sophisticated these days with service stations. Sorry, I said the EPA, it's DEMERS, which is the Department of
Minerals,
Industry.
Regulatory
anyway,
Services.
that long one.
Yeah.
And they will determine, or there's risk management issues that need to be sorted out there. Obviously, the main issue is access to the site. And I understand where the city is coming from with this, but I really can't accept condition 2. It is an invalid planning condition in that it does require the approval of a third party, so it's entirely out of the hands or control of the applicant. And that is just something that can't be accepted in planning terms. So I'm going to move the deletion of condition 2.
Do I have a seconder to, yes, so amendment 1 to the responsible authority recommendation is to delete condition 2. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved Mr. Hyam, seconded Heidi Heard. Mr. Hyam, you wish to speak to the...
Well, I think it's self-explanatory. As I said, I appreciate what the city is trying to do, but this is certainly not the way to do it. And I accept that there is an easement there, and that easement can be, it's a legitimate easement, legal easement, can be used. That's the comment.
Okay, thank you. Heidi, you wish to speak?
I just want to echo the remarks by the member Haim. It's not legally enforceable in the context of planning legislation, so I would agree that it needs to be removed.
Okay, anyone wish to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Smith?
Thank you. So I will speak against. I recognise, I guess, a lot of people have a lot more expertise than me, but what I've got before me is conflicting opinions about this condition. So out of caution, I will vote against that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Huntley, you wish to speak to the item?
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. I think I agree with the panel member Heidi that to actually get, I mean, this is going to be a fuel station, whether it's owned by these people or on-sold in the future, it is going to have the problems of getting tankers in there. And the way the in and out is, the bends on here just to actually come around the back of the fuel lines, and I think it's going to be total chaos, to tell you the truth. I can see this creating loads and loads of problems, and yeah, I can't support it. So I would be in agreement that certainly condition 2 remains.
Okay, thank you. So you're speaking against the amendment to delete condition 2?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I'll speak in support of the deletion of condition 2. The planning rationale behind a condition like that is not valid. Should it be valid, then we would get a lot of implications for future developments throughout the metropolitan area, or in planning terms, any developments that have a similar situation where there's an easement affording access and somebody's trying to get an approval and the adjoining owner has control. Similarly, should there be a fast food outlet proposed on this site, we might find the same situation, whether it's a fuel station or fast food. The adjoining owner, not this particular owner, but in theory, an owner adjoining could deny access and in turn deny competition. So the mere fact that it's not a valid planning condition to me is a good reason to refuse it. And I think the applicants and the adjoining owner can meet and discuss to facilitate access. It's a legal issue. I didn't see any legal opinion from council staff or from council solicitors. So perhaps armed with that, it might have been a different condition, but I'm supporting deletion of condition 2. So everyone's spoken. Mr. Hyam, do you wish to close debate on that?
No more comment on that.
Okay, I'll put the amendment number 1 to delete condition 2. All those in favour? 3 against? 2. The amendment is carried. Mr. Hyam, do you wish to continue speaking to
No
the
further
item?
comment at this stage.
Okay. Well, look, as seconder, I will echo the comments made by Mr. Hyam. I think the fact that the application has been thoroughly prepared and assessed, and council staff have done a good job at assessing all the traffic. The main roads comments have been included, issues from bushfire, traffic generation. I don't think there's any problem with that. Any use adjoining will generate traffic, so it's a difference between hypothetical additional other use or a service station. And I think they've demonstrated that the vehicles to service the site will 12.5 metres is appropriate in the applicant's explanation. In terms of emissions, yes, there is a condition requiring an emission impact assessment. DEMERS, the licensing authority, will require a risk assessment from the proponents, which will demonstrate whether the 200 metre buffer is required or can be removed. So other issues such as noise, lighting, they've all been covered. So I'm supporting the application. Any other panel member wish to speak for or against? Yes, Heidi?
I'll speak for the application, but I'd like to move an additional condition.
So this would be amendment.
An amendment, yep.
Number 2, and the condition is?
Prior to occupancy, that the applicant submit a loading, servicing, and delivery management plan providing more detail in relation to fuel tanker movements, service and deliveries, designated times, etc. Doesn't have to be in that kind of detail, but a loading, service, and delivery management plan to the satisfaction of the city of Wanneroo, with details relating to the operational constraints and operational parameters associated with fuel deliveries.
Okay, so I've tried to write something there. Prior to occupancy, the applicant is to submit a delivery and servicing management plan.
A loading, delivery, and service management plan.
I'm not sure what loading means. What does that?
It's just the name for the type of plan.
Delivery and loading management plan for servicing the service station to the satisfaction of the city of Wanneroo.
A loading, delivery, and service, a loading, service, and delivery management plan detailing proposed movements by fuel tankers entering and exiting the site and other service and delivery vehicles subject to satisfaction of the city of Wanneroo.
Okay, you're moving that. Do I have a second? Councillor Huntley. Okay, you wish to speak to the item further?
No, I think that the preparation of such will go a long way to confirming the types of movements that relate to not just fuel deliveries, waste management movements, deliveries associated with the kiosk, etc., and to ensure that the access as proposed to the site is adequate to cater to that, and that it's compliant with the conditions set out in the RAR, as well as the requirements of main roads in terms of the roadworks required in the Wanneroo road reservation relating to the Splitter Island.
Okay, Councillor Huntley, you wish to speak to that amendment as well?
Only to say that should this gain approval, that is a common sense approach to take, and so yeah, I'm in favour of that.
Thank you. Councillor Smith, you wish to speak to the amendment?
Not speak to the amendment, but I just have a question of both getting the input from both the city and the proponent, just to understand their points of views in relation to this particular amendment.
We don't normally get the points of view of the council staff and the proponents on an amendment like this, but it seems to be fairly clear what it is, and I'm sure that the council staff won't have any objection, and the proponents haven't waved their hands or anything. So I think we'll just leave it at that at the time being. There seems to be acknowledgement that it's a fairly reasonable requirement, but yes.
That's what I thought, but I just, for comfort, wanted that to be confirmed because I don't like making any assumptions. So.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other speakers to the item? No? All right, well, I'll put that amendment. Do we wish to read the words out again, or are we satisfied with the wording? Okay, I'll put the item. All in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. Wish to speak further on the item? No? Councillors, do you wish to speak further? I think we've had all spoken. Okay. All right, well, we have the item before us with the amendments. Clayton, sorry. You can speak.
Thank you.
Please do.
Presiding member. Well, if there's a rebuttal, there is no rebuttal. So
okay.
I'm quite happy with what's been said and encourage people to support it.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, we have the responsible authority recommendation with the amendments. I'll put that to a vote. All in favour? 3 against? 2. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on in the agenda, item 4 was the Form 2 DAP applications. We don't have any. Item 5, SAT reconsiderations. We don't have any. Part D of the agenda, SAT applications, Supreme Court appeals are listed for the DAPs. On Part D is closure. Close the meeting at 10:37 a.m. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, council staff. Thank you, presenters, and thank you, our secretariat staff. And we'll see you next